Cedar Creek Homestead, our weekly porch time here. Got me a good old cup of coffee out here this morning and out on the back porch here, and thought I'd do a little update video. I try to put one up every Thursday. This past week we had a little trouble with our video. It had some technical difficulties. I thought it had uploaded and it didn't work like it's supposed to, so I had to go back and redo it, and it's up now. But finally got it up, but kind of a few days behind when I got it. But this week I know there's a lot of talking goes on, and this time of the year things are kind of slow getting started here around the homestead. The cool weather, and we've had a lot of rain, and so and still more rain coming, but we need the rain. Thank God for the rain, and I don't want to complain about it, because we here in Oklahoma we've gone through some dry spells and it gets scary, and we just went through a pretty high fire danger here, and I'm glad now that has subsided. The grass is turning green and things are looking good. Just a little bit about what's going on here in the homestead. This past week I set in a chicken hen, and I moved her after dark, and I have a video out about that. And I've set her on, I said 14 eggs, but there was too many, so I've got her setting on 12 eggs. And she's a little hen that we raised here, and she's a mixed breed, and she's got a little bit of that Americana chicken in her, and she's got some Buff Orpington in her. And she's set last year and raised 6 or 8 babies. I don't remember exactly how many, but she raised a few and done very well last year. And so I probably put a dozen eggs under her then too. But this year I put 12, and I'm hoping that she'll hatch some babies. But I moved her from the hen house. And when you set chickens in the hen house, well, they'll go to setting on their own. I keep nest eggs in the hen house. I take golf balls and put in there, and sometime I'll do just a chicken video. But they'll lay their eggs, and I go out every morning and gather the eggs. And then every once in a while there'll be a hen that don't want to get off the nest. She just wants to stay. And I'll watch her 3 or 4 days, and if she does, then I'll move her to another little house. So I've moved this hen over. So in about 21 days, roughly, she should hatch, and I hope to do some videos then of her when the babies have hatched and show you the end result of that. One thing about homesteading is I'll kind of homestead / prep. I kind of make preparations just in case for some reason we were to lose electricity. You know, there's been some threats to our electrical grid from China and things. So if we lost electric, I'd like to be able to survive. And now it would be hard for me to survive without electricity. There's some things I really enjoy, and you know, YouTube and all this stuff we're doing right now would probably be gone if we had lost electricity, our computers and stuff, and we would only have for electric what we had to have probably going. Or if there's an EMP, something like that. I don't mean to scare everybody, but these thoughts go through my mind. Are we prepared? Or if a bad storm come through and knocked out the electrical grid here, we have power lines that go across our property, high line power lines that come from the dams over here, and they provide power all over the country. And if a severe storm come through, a tornado, I would reckon it could knock a lot of these power lines out. So I kind of like to be prepared. Well, with chickens, if you were a long term without electric, you wouldn't be able probably to go buy chickens from Tractor Supply or Atwoods or Orsolans and in them places, because if they didn't have electricity, their baby chicks are going to die. And if we didn't have if an EMP happened, for instance, you might not even be able to deliver the baby chickens to the places. The Postal Service might be shut down. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. But one of the things on the farm is raising chickens is, to me, the most easiest, versatile animal there is. If you can let the chickens free range, they'll get most of what they need to eat. I have a pretty good amount of chickens, and I do keep them locked up during the winter when the predators are out. I have let them go all winter long and just lock them up at night, and I've had them do okay. Some of them will get caught by predators. I built a new chicken yard this year, and so I took that chicken yard, and I've got a kind of like, I call it Stall Lock 13. If you ever watched Hogan's Heroes, I fixed it so nothing can get in and they can't get out. Works really good. But predators want to get my animals, so I keep the birds locked up. And during certain times of the year, it seems like the predators are worse, so I have to keep them in. But if I did have to let them go year round, they can pretty much survive on very little feed. And I do feed whole corn to my chickens. They will eat it, and they enjoy it. Mine love the whole corn. But I don't feed them a lot. I want them out there scratching around. And I think I have 21 hens, and I'll usually get 18 eggs a day. Now this winter they slowed down, so I kept them locked up for a while, and I put a light, an automatic light that would kick on at night in the hen house. And then I started feeding them some laying pellets to help enhance their laying. But now it's getting where they can run out most of the time, and I'm not so worried about it. And I'll feed them a coffee can full of corn every day, and they'll stay fat and doing very well. Now they get out in the woods and they scratch the cow pies. They really work hard to produce eggs, but I'll get usually around 18 eggs a day out of 21, 22 laying hens. Some of my hens are kind of getting old, so they're not laying as good as they did, so I never get full production of eggs. That's okay with me. But one thing with chickens, you usually got some roosters you can eat, and you've usually got some hens you could kill and eat if you wanted to. So with chickens, you pretty much got an abundant supply of food. And like I say, sometime I'll do just a video out here of my chickens and the chicken breeds that we have. But part of prepping or homesteading, the old timers survived off of poultry. Our neighbors used to tell a story that they went to California to a work or labor camp deal. And when they got there, the next day the labor camp pulled out. It was finished, and they had spent all they had to get there. And so they had to survive on what they had. And they must have brought a few chickens with them, but they said they double set the chicken hens when they begin to set. And what that means is, like, you'll have two hens set at the same time. When they hatch off, you'll put the babies from one hen over to the other hen and share their babies, and let the other hen be a brooder. And then this hen, you'll reset her with eggs, and if another one happens to be setting, well, that you double set again. And then you don't want your hens probably two settings, which is 21 days at a time, so 42, 45 days total is plenty for a hen, because their weight falls off. They don't get out and forage and eat as much, so you kind of got to be careful with that. But that's how they done it. And he said they ate like kings that next winter. They about starved out the first winter, but the next winter they did very well. They didn't have any money to go order chickens. They had to raise their chickens. The only time he was ever in debt, he said, was to go buy a Jersey milk cow, and he had to work it off with this farmer out in California close to him. So he had a milk cow to feed their children milk, so they'd have milk, and they had eggs and stuff like that. And he said things were slim, but the next year they lived very good. When they needed poultry or something to eat, they just go out and kill a chicken. There was wild game. He would kill and eat some of that. They raised a big garden, and he said the next winter they ate like kings. And you can survive with chickens if you know how to properly handle them. Now, one thing I'll say about chickens is a lot of breeds won't set, so you need to pick a breed that will set. And I think even the normal breeds that used to set really well, like Buff Orpingtons used to set good, Silver-Lace Wyandottes, a lot of them they have bred that out of them, because commercially you don't want chickens that will set, because that hurts your egg production. But if you're homesteading or prepping, you want a hen that will set. I'll tell you one way to get broodiness in your hens is to find someone that has game chickens. The kind that they used to fight, they still raise those around here. And get your rooster and put him in with your hens, and that will cross breed them. And the game chickens are closer to the jungle fowl breed that originally chickens originated from, our domesticated breeds. And those chickens will set, and they will fight and protect their babies. Now I'll tell you, if they have little ones, they're mean. A full game hen will sure get you if they have little ones. And I used to have some game hens here, and over the years they finally went. When I was younger, I had them here, and as a kid, and they died and got caught out and stuff. But that crossbreeding those with your domesticated ones will really make broody hens, and they will set and fight. Another thing is to have some banny chickens, and silky bannies are extremely good about setting on their eggs. Cochins do very well. I also like the BB Reds, and I did have some of them. I don't have any now. But the little BB Red, they look kind of like a game chicken, but they're a miniature version. And they're not as mean, the hens aren't, as the regular game hens. But now they will get you if they have babies. They'll defend their little. But the roosters, they get pretty cocky acting, you know, around. But they'll come up to you and act like they're going to get you and stuff, but they won't hurt you or nothing. But anyway, the BB Reds are another good variety that'll set. And one time I put a couple of goose eggs under one, and a little BB Red hen, and I mean, they are little bitty tiny hens, and she could barely cover those geese eggs. And she only hatched one of them, and that little goose was almost as big as she was. And it was a funny sight seeing her try to corrals this little goose. In just a few days it was bigger than she was. But anyway, I was going to tell a little story about my first chickens I had. I was a boy and my dad had chickens, and a man wanted to give us a couple of bannies. He had a rooster and a hen, and he took care of a place here that's called the Cherokee Courthouse, and it's located probably 6 or 8 miles from here. And it was a place that the Cherokee Indians held court at, and it's a historical site now, and years ago it was a historical site, and a man took care of that and lived on the premises, and he had little bannies, and this little hen and rooster were real gentle. He had hand raised them, and they did really well. But the little rooster would come up to you, and he would put one wing down to the ground and act like he was going to get you. Well, he wouldn't. You could just pick him up and pet him, and that's what he wanted. He's real gentle. But it would scare the visitors, the tourists that come to the courthouse would get frightened by this little banty rooster. So he had to get rid of them, and he asked my dad if I would like these little chickens, this little hen and rooster. So he brought them home, and that little rooster just took right up with me. And they would roost on the windowsill of my bedroom. And at night, when I went to bed, they would peck on the window. I guess they could see the light in as I was getting ready for bed or whatever, but it was kind of funny. They would peck on the window and make noises and stuff. But they would chase, that little rooster would get after my mom when she'd put clothes out on the clothesline, and after my sisters, and they would squeal and holler, and the little rooster just wanted to be picked up. He was not mean at all, wouldn't have hurt them, but it scared them. So we ended up having to get rid of them, and it really broke my heart to have to get rid of that little rooster. I really liked him, and they sent him down to my grandma's, and something eventually caught him and the little hen. But my neighbor across the road, she'd be working in her garden, and he'd come over and see her every morning, and she'd pick that little rooster up and pet him and stuff, and he was just super gentle. But they were little bannies, and bannies can get very gentle and are good little breed for hatching babies, and it's more reliable and get a better hatch than you do from an incubator. And if we lost electric, your incubators would be gone. And I've had storms come in before where you were without electric for like a day or so, where your eggs in your incubator, they'll just run. And so if you have hens setting, they're generally more reliable. I've had times when I didn't get a very good hatch. Maybe you have severe thunderstorms come by, and the shaking can actually, during certain times of the incubation project, even in an incubator or under a hen, can cause them not to hatch as well. But I've always had more success using Mother Nature's means, which is hatching through an old hen. Anyway, I appreciate you listening in. We've gotten up, I think, as of this recording, I think I have like 19 subscribers. And I know that's a little beginnings, but little is much if God is in it. And we're to have humble beginnings here. If you'd subscribe to us, well, we'd sure appreciate that. We're not doing this for money, but it is nice to know that people are watching you. If you'll comment or put a thumbs up to the videos, I appreciate that too. I hope we're doing some good to somebody. I gear these kind of elementary for people who don't know anything about gardening, but yet I may talk about some things that are for the more seasoned veteran in the homesteading and prepping area. But anyway, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and may God bless you and keep you, and Lord willing, we'll see you next week. Goodbye.